does to people. Most people study the other person to see what they are doing and how their work compares to the other person. He continues with saying that competitions help us realize that about ourselves so we can improve and fix ourselves. And so it's just like a little overview of what was happening. And then I talk about what he says. He says lessons for leaders in this, and it's like a list. He puts at the bottom lessons for leaders. So like the overall take of what you just read. And I say, by using this diction, he captures the reader's heart and attention. Reading the word leader makes the reader feel important and special, making his lesson more effective. Why did I show the pathos? Because it shows that the author is making a very smart move for people. He's allowing his paper to be read because he is complimenting the reader. He's telling a reader that they are already leaders for reading his paper, and it makes the reader feel more important and special, like I said in there, and this allows the reader to read.
Because 40 football fields, that's hard to wrap around every minute. He basically does this to say, okay, this problem is bigger than you think. So he's saying, I know what I'm talking about because I know this fact, and this logical reasoning, this is not okay. Prince E I also go over Prince E's, I also use awakened a lot, because I did this because the connotative meaning is basically negative in this context, because it basically implies here that we are currently asleep. And that's what I believe at this point, because I wrote here that he wants the audience to be awakened. This implies that the audience is currently asleep. So the content meaning is leaning towards the negative side, because you don't want to be asleep in this society. You want to be awake and realize, okay, this problem is bigger than we think, so we should probably wake up. I go over, and I also use emotional peer. This is our planet. This is our home.
It's a simple introduction, but it's showing that his whole talk is really about water and how he tries to act or embody water and how it is humble, honest, gentle, and free. I include these ideas next. It's a simple introduction, but it lets the audience know what I'm about to talk about and what Tang's main idea is. For ethos, logos, pathos, the best example of a STEM I use is in my blog, Women in Sports. Marcy Bianco, her whole idea of her article is about how only 3% of television coverage is given to women's sports. So I say Bianco strategically arranges her evidence to move from positive to negative in order to show her audience how we are often misled on the changes in gender inequality. This is really important for a reader to understand how first we see gender inequality in sports and say, oh, it's becoming less prevalent. It's not as bad as it was before. But this 3%, the idea that only 3% of television coverage is given to women's sports, really shows how much of a gap there is. And this is why it's important that Bianco introduces her evidence like this, is because it's the same pattern of thought that a reader would follow. Next, for adding something new to think about, the best example I have is also in my blog, Women in Sports. I write, growing up, I remember watching the Steelers play every Sunday, but I rarely saw women as professional athletes. So this is introducing my own credentials as a writer and showing my audience how, because I didn't see women as professional athletes, it impacted me, but it's also giving a real world example of what Bianco and I am proving, that inequality still exists in our society and we need to change that. For my so what, the best example I have is in my blog, Why Are We So Self-Absorbed? The final paragraph, I really want to show that even though Tang includes a specific example, which is the influence water has on him, Tang doesn't want all of us to be like water. Tang wants all of us to find our why. So by using the so what, that we're supposed to find our why, and become a better person. This is what Tang's message is, but it's also my message. I'm telling the audience, as you can read, you don't need to find a cure for cancer, but hold the door open for a stranger. It's the little things that count. It's the things that aren't necessarily huge, but they are important in our lives. Next, for connotative words, the best example is in my essay, Family Dinner. I include words like busy, bogged down, hard, rushing in my first paragraph. All of these words then transition into regular, consistent, expected, miracle. These positive words with this great connotation are meant to represent the examples of family dinner and how it can have an influence on your family.